Jake has enough time to actually go into the gears though.
Oh, there is Battle Fader.
The myth, the man, the legend, Jake Quinsee from the UK.
Hey guys, this is a deck profile from an event I hosted over the weekend with a new ban list, and I'm with the winner Elijah, who won with his post-ban list Drytron deck. And it was a crazy finals. It was a mad finals. You have to check it out. It's going to be posted on YouTube as well. So check that out. And I'm here with the winner of the event from a close, probably one of the closest finals I've seen for a long time. Elijah, thanks for playing yesterday. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for putting the tournament on for again us players to test the new list before the YCS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was much appreciated.
Welcome. Thanks for playing.
Yeah. Just want me to get straight into the profile.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So what count are you playing? How many in your main deck?
40. It's
Okay.
a strict 40. Yeah.
All right.
So let's move this. So playing again, sort of like standard to begin with, but it shifts here. So obviously 3 alpha, 3 zeta.
Yep.
But then it was 2 gamma, 2 delta.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about these?
So the reason I played again a higher volume of names is so the way the deck's built out is so if I get drawled game 1 or game 2, I've got a 56% chance of opening double names.
Okay.
So and that just always gives me a better chance to at least stall for next turn and be able to play like when I do get drawled, so I can always do something.
Okay. And
so you'll be able to say like, what were you gonna say?
Yeah. Would you prefer playing 3 gamma and 1 delta, or do you like playing 2 delta and 2 gamma?
I think delta offers like unique utility in the fact that I can draw one, and I don't want to see just gamma in my opening hand rather than say like just the delta.
Yeah.
So if I just see gamma by itself, it does nothing. So usually going to send it, but it's just for the odd occasion where you have an extra name in hand or you get Steedy Crowed or whatever in like game 2 and 3. It's always there. There is no like, oh, my gamma's gone, so now I've got no like big push, I guess.
Okay.
So then again, so 3 Herald, 3 Orange, 2 Eva. Like that's a pretty much standard lineup, I would say. Like I don't think there's anything you would want to chop and change. The only thing I could see is maybe just going down to 2 Orange Light.
Okay.
That's the only thing I would see.
When you played it over the weekend, 3 Herald, do you feel at any point it was just not? You just didn't want 3 copies then?
I think the only time you don't want it is in hands that are already unplayable. So it just makes bad hands worse. So for example, if you were to open like a standard like bad hand and then just open like a Herald, it does nothing. Or if you've only got the Herald and a Fairy, then you've say like Herald Diviner or Herald Benten, like any combination, and you have no real way to push next turn, then it's basically you're going -1 on the effect negation. Like don't get me wrong, getting rid of the body is nice.
Yeah.
But you're just putting yourself in a losing position just to use the effect straight away. And I think the only time I would want it in my opening hand is if I was to be threatened by like a draw or an Abiru, something that's again basically game ending for the deck if they can't be stopped.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah. And then literally the best card is Draw.
Tell me about
it. Yeah, so obviously it's a level 1, so there's got that synergy there, I suppose, with Fafnir. But also it wins again the mirror. It's not terrible against like Striker, Salad, and the stuff that I expected to be represented quite heavily during the tournament.
Yeah.
So I thought, and my opinion on it is, I just don't think Ash did enough by itself as a combination of just one, or say like Ash Herald. I always thought just Droll just completely shuts them out of the game, and I wasn't too worried about the Tri-Brigade matchup. I just going into game, if I win game 1, I should like realistically win, and the only thing I'm really scared of on their board, like guess going second is Dragon Lords and Appaloosa.
Okay.
Like, especially obviously because I've got the main deck out in like Cosmic and stuff. So yeah, that'd be that, and then obviously the rituals is just the stock standard 4. So Ultimate Nurse, Benton, Ida 10, and Natasha.
With those,
Um,
are you happy with the 4, or do you see yourself playing Draconids moving forward, or do you not like that card?
I like the card. Like, I think it's good. I just don't think there's a decent enough way to consistently bring them out, without hindering like your end board or your combo.
Yeah.
Because the only way I can see making it live is if you were to play like 2 Mu Beta, and that's if obviously you don't open 3 names. And so you make the Mu Beta, so then you've at least got the spell negate and again the interruption with the Draconids. But again, the issue there is like it's only really good under draw, and I think cards like there's cards that do the same thing, such as like Natasha just takes anyway. So like if you're only going to basically send the stuff on their turn, I don't think like I would rather just have Ultimateness or Appaloosa or IP Unicorn. Like again, too many different like variations or variables that basically replace Draconids, I guess.
Okay.
So yeah, again, another meta call was the Cosmic, because I expected a lot of Striker, I expected Mystic Mine, I expected some obviously Tri Brigade, Salad, just because of the recent changes to the list.
Yep.
And I just wanted an in deck out to again like either floodgates or again potential threats in the back row. So whether it was like an Imperial Order, because if I activate like Cyber Emergency, the go IO, and then I somehow can't play.
Yeah.
So I wanted something to actually be able to play the game.
When you were playing Cosmic,
So yeah,
how impactful was it over the weekend?
quite. So it stopped like on a couple of my games. I think it basically got rid of a card that I needed to get rid of. So on some instances, it would get rid of like things like droplets, so I can then play freely.
Yep.
It would clear the space up, so like Solemn Judgment, or would force them to activate certain effects. So I think I went against quite a few Salad players, and so just use Salad targeting a specific back row, and then they would obviously either chain the raw or whatever,
Yeah.
and then that's one negate I've got to worry about. So I don't have to worry about that negate anymore. I can just play freely.
Okay.
Then there was again the reason the deck is played is Cyber Emergency and Nova. And
Yeah.
Nova, I don't think there's much explanation on these cards. Like, these cards are just insane. Again, consistency.
Yeah, they're literally built for the deck.
Yeah, and then here's obviously a little bit of a difference. I played 2
Hey.
of the ritual spell.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like I don't mind hard opening the ritual spell, and it allows me to play through again more interruption, and also gives me again, I guess, more chance to resolve certain effects and be able to play like I said, just through interruption. But it's also like if this gets DD crowed at some point in game 2 or game 3, then you're not stranded and you can still do something.
Okay.
So you can still try and use like the Natasha to try and then actually push for game or whatever. So
Moving forward, after playing 2 this over the weekend, would you still play 2, or would you decide to cut it down to 1?
With the lack of representation for Crow this weekend, I would probably drop it down to 1.
Okay.
But then I would then probably contemplate thinking about other variations that I could play. So whether that's to play like Dawn of Herald, and maybe try playing Herald of Perfection and other stuff like pre-prep and stuff.
Yeah.
Or you could even go the Megalith route, which in my opinion is stronger from like a combo standpoint. However, it's more susceptible to again hand traps, and it loses harder.
Okay.
So it just really depends on that. Then I just played these one-offs So I played
That's
Call by
Yeah.
Instant Fusion, Foolish Burial, and then the last card was Fafnir.
Okay.
And these are really I don't think there's anything really I need to say about these. Like these are for like obviously draw and hand traps, and these are just like consistency cards. I don't really don't think I'd play this anymore just because it obviously plays into draw more.
Yeah.
So I'd probably cut that for that reason. So moving on to the extra.
Just before we move to this extra deck, with the main deck as it is 40, I know you mentioned you'd remove
Yeah.
Fafnir. Would you? Is there any other cards that you think
Yeah.
you would just definitely take out now as well with Fafnir, or is it just Fafnir?
So I was thinking about this earlier, and I think if you really wanted to, there's probably like, I guess 6 flex spots, maybe 7, that you could take out to play for other cards if you really wanted to.
Yep.
So obviously you could take like this out, and if you really wanted to, you've got this, and then obviously the cosmics, the draws, depending on your preference, and then you could take out Gamma and a Delta if you want it to be again a bit more risky. Going with that. So there are definitely cuttable cards within the deck. But let's say I was to only cut the Fafnir. It would be finding something that I would want to play over this, I guess. Like before I changed my list before entering the tourney, I was playing things like talents and droplets.
Yep.
And so my argument for not playing talents though is it's good if they do anything that isn't like draw, so I can draw 2 and I can get all the effects. But if the draw, then it comes down to just being okay, I can look at your hand and send one back. And I just think as a spot within the deck, like especially now as well, people are trying to play around the activation of talent, so they're using things like obviously imp again like droplets and everything else that aren't getting used within the main phase, like monster effect wise.
Yeah.
So I would definitely look at probably shifting towards droplets, but not talents, just because I'm not a big fan right now.
Yeah.
I'm just not, just because it requires your opponent to actually use something to become useful, I guess. But yeah, I guess that would be that. Yeah, and then this is the extra. So we got Borrowed Sword.
How is this? How is this card?
I never summoned it once.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So for me, it just never came up. Like the OTK is always there with Natasha, and obviously various other avenues, but it wasn't there for me over the tournament. So I just I think going forward, I would cut either this or access code. Just because obviously having like one of them is nice, but I just don't think you need both. In all honesty, and I think you could probably play something that offers maybe a bit more utility going forward.
I was playing Drytron today, and it came up at that point where Borrow Sword would win me. Well, I'd win anyway, but it would have been. It's like win more. It would have won me that turn. And when I was playing different like other games as well during the tournament, I was like, man, I could really just go Borrow Sword OTK like so many times because the deck really allows you to do that more often than what I originally thought it would do. And I actually like the inclusion of Borrow Sword. I'm just surprised. I'm actually really shocked that you never summoned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like the main reason I didn't need to summon it is though because I was always so I was either under draw or on like getting ham trap going like turn 1 or whatever, doing like a standard board, and then going into next turn I was able to make things like obviously like Zeus if I was scared of anything whatever they had, or access code to pops, like to get the enough pops to actually warrant summon access code over Borrowed Sword.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends. Like I would say between access code and borrow sword, I summoned access code a lot more than borrow sword on Saturday, but I think yeah, it's definitely going to be I need to review whichever one I would prefer because I don't think I can warrant playing them both right now.
Okay, understandable. Makes sense.
So then obviously you've got access code, which is just really good. Especially with like things like Natasha, you can take your opponent's link monsters and then obviously target their link monster, etc. So
Very
forth.
good.
Yeah, you've got the Appaloosa, which can be an M board if you get rolled. It's also good, like making it with like Masquerader, etc. And then utility, Unicorn, Phoenix. Probably my favorite card that I was playing is Liner.
Okay, why's that?
So in the mirror, obviously we didn't see it in the final because misplays galore. But what you can do is like so another avenue. What I could have done is I could have destroyed the ultimate nurse, brought the ultimate nurse back with Liner, and have that sat there with Liner. And obviously, if I didn't Dark Ruler, I would have taken Mubeda, and then I would have had that as well.
Yeah.
So there's so many different avenues that you could go with, especially in the mirror. So you can take obviously your opponent's Benten, the Ultimate Nurse, just something that they've used previously. That's obviously summonable, and it allows you just to take a resource away from them.
Yeah.
And obviously, if it's destroyed, like all the other Charmers, it adds a bit of consistency because you can add again a Drytron monster, an Eva, or whatever, with 1500 or less defense.
Very good.
Then we have the Masquerena, which is pretty standard for the M board. Link Rebo, which is used for the combo. Zeus, Beatrice. I only play the one Mubeda.
Why did you only play one? Or would you have wished you played two?
I think one. So for me, one has only ever came up. Two only comes up under the instance where, like, when you get rolled and you can obviously send Draconids to then summon the Draconids, and then at least you've got a negate and an interruption.
Yeah.
So that's the only instance I'd want to play again, an additional Mubeda. But I just think if you can make it, and you've made it with like 2 names, you don't need it for the like follow-up turns because you've already got access to 2 names. So going forward anyway, you should be comfortable with like your engine. And then I played Assemble Nightingale, Entus, Millennium Eyes Restrict, and Arclight for the 15.
Is there anything in the extra deck that you wish you played that you didn't play?
So yeah, I wish I tested or played Nightmare Griffin.
Wow. Okay, I didn't expect that. Why?
Yeah. Obviously Downed also comes up for like a 2. So you've got obviously a 4 material Zeus, but yeah, I think Griffin would steal more games in what it can do.
Yeah.
Like so, obviously, for example, if you use that with like the Beatrice, you can set things like obviously the anti-spell, Imperial Order, and so forth.
That's so true. That's so true as well. Yeah, because you always are sending with Beatrice.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
So that's probably what I would change going forward. And obviously, if you do that, then you just sort of win the mirror and striker, and potentially quite a lot of other matches because you can then tailor your side deck to what you would send and set off Griffin or whatever.
I might use that myself.
Feel free to. So then here's the again side deck. It's not solidified, and I probably would change quite a lot in this overall.
Okay.
So we'll start with again probably the best card in the side, which was 3-iron Ice Spell. Now, this, if I was to use obviously Griffin, it would probably be 2 and 1.
Yeah.
Just because it offers just again a bit more versatility, and they basically have like the same function. But the reason I was playing this is because I feel like this deck is similar to Dragon Link in that it loses to, again, like Dark Ruler, droplets, and so forth.
Yeah.
So I wanted something to mitigate, like, again, losing straight up. And I didn't want to play Judgment for the fact of, like, Judgment only gives me, say, so it'll only stop, like, whether the droplets or whatever, if they don't send the trap, or the Dark Ruler. But if they have anything else and they can still play it, like, if they've got more spells or anything, then they can still continue to go forward and probably out my board potentially.
Yeah.
Then obviously I played Duster and Twin Twister, which were just filler cards, if I'm being honest. Because I wanted to test if I preferred Twin Twister over Cosmic, or if I preferred Cosmic over Twister. And obviously Duster was there because it's Duster, so you want it for, again, the rogue matches and things that you would expect, like Striker, Salad, and so forth.
Okay.
Then obviously 3 Dark Ruler. Basically, I don't think there's anything to say. It basically wins the combo mirrors, and it outs, like, fields that aren't meant to be broken. So I think it's just a standard thing that you should potentially include. So with this though, I always go back between this and droplets. Now, I prefer this, but obviously because I can't respond to it with, again, monster effects stuff. But my only issue is, so if droplets can sometimes make, I guess, your hand unplayable, depending on obviously what you've got. So I just wanted something that would just do something straight up, so something like Dark Ruler, and I can just play it, and then if they've got the response to it, then they've got the response, I guess. Because I'm never going to be sending a trap anywhere with droplets in this deck.
Yeah.
Then just 3 lands here and 3 nib. This was for Tri Brigade or anything, and I'd basically never seen it. And nib was basically goes in against like bad players who don't play around before the 5th summon, who don't summon like the negate before the 5th.
Yeah.
So it's generally go. Also, I guess with Salad being in the format, you could probably go with Salad, depending on what their end board's going to be. But usually it's like Sunlight Wolf, Mirage Dally, or potentially something else. So if they don't put up, like, say, the Rafflesia or anything else, then it's just a free board wipe against that deck. And it just sets them so far back. But going forward, there are quite a few changes I would make in that extra deck, so I probably wouldn't play the nib anymore. Don't know if I'd play the twins, but I'd probably find space for things like, again, maybe Mystic Mine, Imperial Order, just potential blow cards.
Yeah, I am shocked you didn't play mine. Mine's kind of like, people have been on and off mine. A lot of people, especially in the UK, they love Mystic Mine, especially in Drytron, and it is quite a smart thing to have because of what it can do. It can really just control the game if people let you go off, and then if they draw you as well, you can just play mine, and then maybe win that way, or you can just let you next turn you can just go off if they out it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I do agree with that train of thought, but so I think going into, like, so let's you lose game 1 and the C mine game 2, obviously you'll take it out potentially in whatever game after that, depending on obviously if you want to go first or second as well. But I think once they know it's there, they'll play around it, and I think at some point you sort of have to out your own mine if they don't out it, especially. Yeah. And I also think good players, now that they know mine's in the format, play around the fact that mine's there, so they'll save like the spell trap negate to see what, like, the most optimal thing to negate. So if they know they're going to lose to Mystic Mine, or they know they don't have an out, then obviously they can just do it for that. So I think it just depends. It is something I do potentially want to test, but I also got, like I said, I've got a few things I want to test with, obviously, like the Griffin thing, obviously with the Beatrice, you could play things like Zombie World and what's she called? Necro. Yeah. So you've got the Banshee again for things like Trizu and other matchups. So I feel like there are quite a few avenues that you can take with the deck. But what I will say is, I don't think this deck is solved by a long shot. I think it still has higher to reach in terms of what it can do.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I just think it's not solved yet. I don't think. I think it's got a lot of potential there, and it'd be interesting when it is solved because people would probably hit themselves. It's like comparing like the Tri Brigade decks when I saw like the Bird Up variant, and I'm like, okay, this is all it does, right? And then once it evolved into what it is now, I'm like, wow, like the lists now are just insane for Tri Brigade compared to what it was originally. And maybe we might see that with Drytron, and if we do, I'm actually curious to see where it goes.
Yeah, like I definitely think we can probably see like some changing, because I mean I think there's so many things you can do. Like there's things like the Chaos Space package that you can play with, so you could play around with that. If you find the right dark targets and stuff to play. So I think there's so much there that you can play with, especially with obviously the new support coming out, like the Magic Key. Obviously that, yeah. Basically, there's just a ritual at a machine that's got 500 attack. And he can obviously that's 1 free negate for a Mufafnir just on one summon itself.
Okay, wow. All right.
So I think, yeah, like I said, it's not solved. There's so many avenues to take, and there's so many tech cards that you can play with.
Sure. Well, thanks for the profile. Do you have any shout outs, anything you want to say? Any final words?
Yeah, so first, I guess I just want to say thanks to you for hosting the tournament and letting us obviously all take part. And I guess just shout out my local friend group who've obviously helped me test and help prepare ourselves for the YCS.
Right, well, thanks for coming on stream. Thanks for doing the deck profile. Well, thanks for playing as well. Congrats on winning, and good luck at the YCS.